Which kind of leads me into my next player because I feel like I've had him the past 2 or 3 seasons, and he is number 2 on my shit list, and it's Diontae Johnson, wide receiver from the Pittsburgh Steelers. This man is not good. Every time I draft him, because he's always listed like pretty solid in the wide receiver, and he's one of those picks like midway through the draft, like you just got to pick him up. So I get him, and the first 3 weeks he did pretty good, and then to the Jets scores 4 points, and then just continually just falls pretty miserably until they play Carolina in week 15 and gets 20 points. Like, that's the brightest, this is the highest he scored all season, and that's the brightest spot. He ended up ranked wide receiver 29, average points 10.6. Like, that's not good enough for me.
I refuse to draft Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. If you watch Pittsburgh Steelers game, it is so slow. It's very methodical. They have no offensive power whatsoever. It's very hard to watch. They end up winning half their games every season with absolutely nothing, which is probably a credit to Mike Tomlin more than anybody.
100%.
But even Najee Harris, who was in a dynasty league, was the number 1 pick a couple years ago. They don't score points. And Diontae Johnson came in as their wide receiver 1. But I think George Pickens, the rookie, is better and leapfrogged him. But Kenny Pickett is not a good quarterback. He's not getting the guys the ball enough. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't see where Pittsburgh goes from here. It's looking pretty sad, though.
I think it's going to be one of those situations where, like, you had a dynasty quarterback, even though I literally despise Ben Roethlisberger with every fiber of my being. And now they're trying to pick up the pieces and figure out what's next for the team and for the organization. And, yeah, they have one of the best coaches in the league, but it's hard to coach when you don't have any foundational elements on the field, and they're struggling.
The problem with the Steelers is that Ben Roethlisberger was literally crawling to the finish line. He couldn't throw for like 4 years, and it was obviously like it's ending, and they refused to do anything about it. They refused to take a pick on a quarterback and build them up underneath him until it was too late, and they ended up with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is.
He played for Pitt. He's a first-round draft pick last year. But I don't know. Like, there was definitely better options the last 4 years, and the Steelers are not. They're a team that draft their roster. They're not out there making trades. They're not out there making big free agent deals. So, like, there's quarterbacks that are gonna be coming up and have come up in the last 4 years. They probably won't even think about it.
No. Tom Brady to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's like, do you sell your soul for a Lamar Jackson? You could if you
more to Pittsburgh, that'd be crazy.
That would be crazy, but I feel like Pittsburgh has the cap room for him. Like, who are they spending money on?
Yeah, I just feel like they were like such one of the top teams for a long time, and in the past, obviously, few seasons, they've just fallen so much. And like you said, I think they just went into it so underprepared and so reactionary. Like, you knew your star player, quarterback, was going to retire. Why didn't you prepare at all?
I mean, he's like 100 years old. Like, not that he's older than anybody else, but he didn't take care of his body. Like, he was low-key, like,
disgusting.
Just gross. Like, and he couldn't throw by the end. Like, it was obvious where it was headed. Like, yeah. I feel like everyone saw this coming. And
again, he came up with, like, the Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, like, all of those guys who were slowly starting to retire. Like, it's going to happen. He's not a Tom Brady.
Their plan was to obviously do what they did with Ben Roethlisberger and draft somebody at the point where they definitely needed them and hoped it worked out. But with Ben, it worked out very quickly. And it's just not that way with Kenny Pickett or whoever the fuck people are drafting in the first round nowadays. It's usually not happening for a lot of teams.
No. I'm shocked that the Giants draft Daniel fucking Jones and we won any game in the playoffs, so.
Daniel Jones is going to get a fat contract and then shit himself. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Probably. I just know the Giants will mess this up in one way or another. And can't wait.
He screams Kirk Cousins, like, gets a fat check and then just is average for forever.
Too,
low key.
Like just a white Middle Western boy.
I can't. I don't want to talk about Kirk Cousins anymore. I hate him. Next on my shit list is Gabe Davis. There's always guys that end up on multiple teams of yours. Like, you think it's going to be good, and it's a shit show. And Gabe Davis is the most high-risk, high-reward wide receiver out there. There's weeks he will score 30 points. There's weeks he will score 3 points. I started him every week he scored 3 points. He was benched every week he scored 30. I could not time it correctly once. So I'm mad at him right now. I need him to be consistent. And I really couldn't figure out when he was going to pop off. So he burned me a lot this year.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things about fantasy football is those players that aren't consistent. And, like, you try to figure out the balance and then you can just never get it right. It's, like, hard. Some people don't understand, but it's heart-wrenching. Like, when you see your bench, you're like, oh, I'm benching this guy. He only scored me 5 points last week. And then this week, he's on your bench, scores you 30 points. Like,
and you lose by less than 30, you're sick.
Yes. Yeah. Literally sick for 24 to 48 hours. Nobody speaks to me.
Yeah, that's exactly who Gabe Davis was for me. Yeah. I had him in, like, 3 leagues. I'm pretty sure 3, and it was bad.
That's the other hard thing. Like, I enjoy being in multiple leagues, but it's hard because, like you said, sometimes you end up with players who are on all 3 teams, and you're just like, I don't even want this guy on one team, and now I have to deal with him on every single one. And the other hard part about it is, like, in one league, you'll have a player, like, say the Bills-Bengals are playing each other. So you have Josh Allen in one league, and you're going against Joe Burrow, but in your other league, you have Joe Burrow. So you're like, what the fuck? Like, I want this one to do good, but I also have to root for this one. And it's very complicated. It's a complicated science.
Complicated, toxic, hard. It can be terrible.
Yeah.
But we love it. So.
Yeah. It makes it entertaining. And like you said, I think that it just makes me, like, pay attention to the rest of the NFL and not just the New York Giants.
Oh, definitely.